on now. One of Sudan's top generals has told the BBC that the army will press on with its military offensive against the paramilitary rapid support forces. Now, that's despite international efforts to broker a ceasefire in the country's 17-month civil war, which has displaced millions of people. Assistant Commander-in-Chief Lieutenant General Ibrahim Gabir also hinted that the Sudanese authorities had weapons dealings with Iran and denied there's a famine in the country. He sat down with our Africa correspondent Barbara Platt-Asher just days after the army launched a major new operation to regain control of the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. She began by asking him what this means for the chances of peace.
We are very keen about peace and the good and safe life of Sudanese. It is our first priority.
So what is the strategy? Do you think now that you're on the offensive in Khartoum, now is the time for war at this point?
We are not talking about war. No, we are talking about there is a certain thing that the Sudanese army must do for the Sudanese people. So how can you leave the Sudanese people fleeing out as IDPs and the houses are 100% was occupied by the militia? Second, how about the facilities? Electricity facilities, all these things are now occupied by the militia. So how come? That means you have to fight them.
But what does all this mean for the chances of peace talks?
Peace talks can go, but the army will not stop for the peace talk to come in.
The UN says the army is still not doing enough to get aid into the RSF-controlled areas. There's still restrictions. The process is still taking too long.
Sudan government has nothing to do with the aid, and they don't like the Sudan government will not going to interfere in how to distribute aid or no. Just facilitation.
Including in RSF-held territory.
Everywhere, as a Sudanese, you have to get your food.
So you're saying there's no issue with taking aid into RSF-controlled territory?
No issue like that one.
So just to be clear, you're saying that there's no famine?
Sudan, it is not facing famine, because famine has certain steps should have to be taken and also should have to be addressed by a national and international organization, Vows with the Ministry of Agriculture, Sudan.
But the UN has said that there is a famine in parts of Darfur, especially in the Zamzam camp. So you're saying the UN is wrong?
So, you know, Zamzam, it is encircled. And who is encircling Zamzam? This is a question. Let us answer.
The army and others have accused the United Arab Emirates of supplying the RSF with weapons. How much of a difference does that make? How big a factor is that in the way this war is playing out?
It was proven by the experts' report. It shows this is number one. On ground also, on the field also. There is so many 4x4 cars, armored vehicles, passport, some like rockets like Galvin one, and some small arms, ammunitions.
But how much of a difference do you think that makes in the fighting of the war?
Yes, this is make very big difference. Yeah, it's a militia. If you support them with arms, and it's not normal arms, and it's advanced high-tech one, so it will. But by the end of the day, they will not conquer. It's a militia.
The UN has said that weapons are not only coming in from the United Arab Emirates, but also from other countries, from Russia, from Iran. Are you getting weapons from Iran?
Clearly, and I'm going to tell you, you can find the weapons if you have money. And second, you can have weapons also if you have some facilitation of payment. Number one, Iran will not give you any weapons unless you have to pay, and to pay in cash.
Do you have cash?
The most important thing is that we are a government and we have a right to deal with everybody.
The UN has accused the RSF of committing atrocities, but it also says that the army is carrying out war crimes, indiscriminate bombing, arbitrary detention and torture, strikes on hospitals and schools. How do you respond to that?
The Sudanese army, they are not angels. They are not angels.
They're not what?
They are not angels. They can commit crimes, no problem. But it's individually. They condemn RSF and then they condemn SAF. No. We have the right, and we are working as a professional army, protecting our people and our country, We are completely committed to what I've told you about the Geneva Protocol laws.
How long do you think this war will go on?
It will go on until we control all the country in terms of security and everything and let all the IDPs go their homes.
And what does the end game look like?
Sudan will conquer, us will conquer, and Sudan will be rebuilt.